Hi everyone, time for another review, and this week there were two DVDs released, The Innkeepers and Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance, so I'm going to start with Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance. I was not a big fan of the first Ghost Rider film. In fact, I didn't really like it at all. I thought it played it safe. I thought Ghost Rider wasn't very cool and he wasn't in it enough, if anything. I thought when he was in it, it just wasn't that great either. It wasn't as awesome as it should have been. So I didn't have high expectations when going to see this film. Believe it or not, I saw it at the cinema in 3D and I bought it on DVD. So already you can probably see that I did enjoy the film. Probably all read the negative reviews of this film, the fact that everyone hates it. It's got like a 17% on Rotten Tomatoes. So don't click off the review yet because you think I'm a bad reviewer or something. Now I've said that. The film is entertaining. I was entertained by it, but I can see why people would not like it. This film has a lot of faults. It is quite a bad film in all honesty, but I did enjoy it. I'm not going to get very in-depth on the plot because there's not much to tell really. The plot is just not really important in this film. Basically, Ghost Rider's got to save this kid because it's apparently the devil's son, and if he does so, he's going to get the curse lifted. It's as simple as that. There's not much more to it, but it doesn't matter because the main reason you will go see this film is for the special effects and just to see Ghost Rider looking badass and beating the shit out of people. And do we get that? Yeah, most of the time we do. The film stars Nicolas Cage. Now, I know what you're thinking. Nicolas Cage, he has made some real stinkers. Honestly, he has, but I stand by this guy. I think he's a great actor. I loved him in Matchstick Men, I loved him in Face Off, I loved him in Bad Lieutenant. That was one of my favourite films that year. So I've always had faith in him, but occasionally, in fact quite regularly, he does let me down. The Wicker Man. Yeah, probably a guilty pleasure film of mine actually, just because it's so bad. It's bad, but it's just funny to watch all the plot holes, and if you haven't seen it, just watch it for the giggles, honestly. Nicolas Cage has the tendency to overact in films. The Wicker Man is a prime example. And in this, he does overact, but he kind of fits in with the Ghost Rider character, I suppose. You know, he's got a demon inside him, so it's an excuse to be a little crazy and stuff. And you've all probably seen the video on YouTube, Nicolas Cage loses his shit, and definitely there's a scene from this film that will go in that, and it is actually my favourite scene of the film. It's this great scene where he's trying to hold the Ghost Rider in because he's trying to get information out of this guy, and this guy's annoying him, and he's trying to hold the rider in, and he's just giggling like, laughing, and then the Ghost Rider nearly gets out, and he just starts yelling, "Scratching at the door! Scratching at the door!" It's hilarious. Just honestly, if you don't laugh at that scene, to be honest, the reason I paid £10 for this film was for that scene alone. So apart from Nicolas Cage and his hilarious overacting, we have Ciarán Hinds. You may remember him from The Woman in Black. He was like the second main character. And there is another guy in it, and I have not looked up his name, but he looks scarily like Kurt Russell. And these are the two bad guys in the film. Now the guy looks like Kurt Russell. He's okay. I didn't think he was an amazing actor, but he was fine. He was quite funny. But Ciarán Hinds is fantastic. He's a brilliant actor, he really is, and he plays the devil very well. Well as can be expected in an action film like this. This film is a prime example of a film that is so bad that it is good, and almost great a lot of the time. Yes, it's pretty poorly directed, it's a bit of a mess, the script is nothing special, it's appalling in some scenes to be honest. But on the other hand, the film is extremely entertaining, as I've said before. It's very playful, and this is mainly due to the fact that it's from the director that brought us Crank. So you know how crazy Crank was, and he had some really cool camera shots in that. And in this, it's exactly the same. I don't know how they got some of the camera shots. I've never been so excited from just watching a motorbike drive along. It's crazy. It's brilliant. Ghost Rider himself looks badass. He really does. In the first film, to me, he came across as a bit of a pussy. But in this, he looks awesome. And in this film, they actually got Nicolas Cage to play the rider. Because in the first one, the scenes where he was actually the rider, it was a completely different guy. So we have all of Cage's mannerism, and it looks like him, and it is just so much cooler this way. The film has a lot of action, and it is what you would expect from something like this. There is a lot of special effects. Some work, some don't. For example, when he is the Ghost Rider and he's beating the shit out of people, driving along, it looks great. But when this bad guy's in it, who has the power to decay people when he touches them, the screen goes black when he touches them, and there's only light around them characters, and it looks kind of video game-ish. I wasn't keen on that. Luckily it's not in it too much, so it doesn't spoil the film. First half of this film, we get to see what Ghost Rider should be like, an absolute badass. Now in the first film, it seemed like all he did was just swing a chain around, not in a very cool manner, and the bad guys just went away. In this, yeah, he still swings his chain, but it looks badass. He is decapitating people, knocking them in half, but they just turn into ash, but it still looks really cool. So finally, we get to see the Ghost Rider that we've always wanted. Just an absolute badass. He is in it for most of the first half of the film, and the first half of the film is full of action. Then it gets to the second half of the film. The Ghost Rider is in it considerably less, and the film is not as playful in its second half and not as entertaining. It's still fine to watch, but something happens at the halfway point, and it's hard to explain. It's almost like more plot develops, and because the film's plot is so weak, we just don't give a shit. We just want to see more of the rider. But luckily, when it gets closer to the end, there's another big action sequence which involves the rider and this big motorway chase, which is the highlight action scene of the film for me. And we can forget all about that weird middle section and just get back to being flat out entertained by this badass Ghost Rider. I watched this film today with my friend Francis Neal, and he did not want to be in this review because he's a bit of a pussy, he's a bit camera shy. I joke, he's not a pussy. Well, you can judge for yourself by this picture that I'm going to flash up on screen, which he told me not to, but anyway, here he is. And he basically said that this film was no better than he expected, but it was not any worse than he expected. He said it was a good film, it was average, it was quite bad, but, you know, it was entertaining. It was nothing amazing, it was an action film, it was exactly what he expected, and I think that sums it up pretty well. It will not be better than you expect, and it probably won't be any worse. If you go in expecting an action film, lots of special effects, and just being generally a very fun film, you'll have a great time. What can I say? That's Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance. I'm going to give Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance a solid 3 Dans. Face for 3 Dans, we have not seen it yet. Brace yourself. Yeah. Do I look Chinese? No? I don't know. People say I do. Anyway, yeah. I hope you like that face. See you next time.